First punishment isn't waiting for those who committed to something and did wrong. The worst punishment is reserved for those who committed to nothing and stayed on the fence.
Actually, let me get a little sip of water here. So it's looking like Jordan Peterson is a giant coward, and he is ducking out from Krystal and Kyle and Friends podcast with Krystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske. Krystal Ball of Breaking Points, Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk. But Kyle dropped a video on his channel a couple of days ago explaining the situation. So let's kind of listen in and comment as we go.
On Krystal, Kyle, and Friends last week that Jordan Peterson was scheduled to come on this week. We've had this plan since mid-December. Krystal read both of his newer books in preparation, 12 Rules for Life and 12 More Rules for Life, in preparation for talking to him. I watched over a dozen hours of his lectures, specifically his 2017 lecture series. It's on psychology and philosophy. I also watched a lot of his interviews, his most famous interviews, and some that are maybe even off the beaten path a little bit. Well, unfortunately, we were informed yesterday that he can't do the podcast. We were going to discuss everything. We're going to discuss psychology and philosophy. And on that front, we may actually agree a lot more.
Imagine being Krystal Ball and wasting all that time reading this guy's books, and then he doesn't even have the balls to show. Kudos to you, Krystal Ball, for being a thorough host and interviewer, that you actually are going to read his materials so you can interact with him and actually ask him real and meaningful questions. But God, what a waste of time. What a waste of time.
Than people might think. But we were, of course, going to get into politics and economics and religion. And on that front, we'd almost certainly disagree. He also floated that he wanted to discuss sex and gender with us because I guess he knew that we're on the left, and so he thought maybe that would be interesting to get into. We were more than willing to do that. We were informed that Jordan has upcoming travel and a forthcoming months-long speaking tour, so he needs time to prepare and rest.
So you're committing to doing things, right? A podcast. Couple hours of one of your days, and then you're going to back out of said podcast because you have a speaking tour and you need to prepare. It's a real puss move.
We followed up with his assistant who informed us of this and asked to reschedule, but we're told it's too far out to lock anything in, but maybe sometime around June.
That sounds like a never. I'll be super surprised. And I'll give kudos to Jordan Peterson if he does show up for this conversation. And I don't know why he would even avoid it. Like, just talk to them. They're not going to press you that hard. Krystal and Kyle are good. They're good enough. But they're not going to hold your feet to the fire like crazy. They're going to be respectful. And it's also, you talk all this big game about how you want to debate real leftists and blah, blah, blue, and the left is this, it's that, and then you cower out. You're all Mr. Personal Responsibility, and then you make a commitment, and then you don't follow through. It's pretty sad.
Look, it's a real shame that it fell through.
Also, it'd just be a nice conversation to watch, to actually see some decent exchanges going on that aren't just like clickbaity or too focused on culture war BS, when they could talk about stuff in a little more substantive manner. It could have been a good conversation.
I've heard him mention a number of times that he wants to talk to intelligent leftists and, not just pink-haired college kids who their main concern is deplatforming conservative speakers. And look, this was an opportunity to do exactly that. Hopefully, eventually we can make it work. And I will say to anybody in my audience who was questioning whether or not to have him on in the first place,
people who are obsessed with only having conversations with people who agree with you, you're morons, people. You need to have dialogue with people you disagree with. We need to have free flow and exchange of information. And we also need to realize that when you want to build movements and build institutions and build programs in general, let's just say build a better future, you need to have imperfect allies. You need to have people that you don't agree with on everything, but can agree with on said specific issue and work towards a goal on said specific issue. So this whole modern thought in the left that you can only work with people you agree with, we can only talk with people we agree with, we can only go on platforms that we agree with is ridiculous, because then you're just talking to yourselves, and what's the point of that? What is the point of that?
Don't engage with people who I don't believe. So there's some conservative commentators, many conservative commentators, who I don't even think they necessarily believe the things that they're saying. And with those people, it's a different story, because it's like you're talking to a brick wall,
Right.
And you're not really going to get anywhere. And if you make a good point, they won't even acknowledge that you made a good point. I do not put Jordan Peterson in that category. I think he means what he says. And that made him an interesting character to me. And as much as people think, maybe some percentage of my audience would think this, oh, you're providing him with a platform. Well, first of all, are we really? Because even though we're pretty sizable, he's even bigger than both Krystal and myself.
Yeah.
But also this notion of, don't create a pipeline to whatever odious ideas he might have. Well, you got to have a little faith and understand maybe the pipeline is being created in the other direction.
That's exactly what I was just talking about there. So yeah, Jordan Peterson is apparently a little bitch boy, and he's backing out from a podcast with two people who really weren't going to hit him that hard. I don't know what it is. I don't know why he would commit and then uncommit, but it's not a good look for him, especially because his excuse is bullshit, and he's going to do other podcasts and appearances in between the time from now and his speaking tour, so it's just a bullshit lame excuse. And I definitely like that Kyle touched upon what I just touched upon as well, which is the modern thoughts of people thinking we can only talk to people we agree with, we can only go on platforms or platform people we agree with. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous, and it all needs to stop, because we're cheering on censorship now, and it's so stupid. We're all cheering on and applauding our own demise. It's ridiculous. Can we please stop cheering on the destruction of the free flow of information and having an internet that's worth even going on? Or are we all just going to do microtransactions in the metaverse in the future? Please, Jordan Peterson, just go on their podcast in June like you said you would now, because there's no reason for you to be a little bitch about this, bro. Come on.